All right, thanks everyone for being here for our final presentation. We saved the best for last, right? You were our last presenter last year too. Is this a trend?
I just like to give myself some time to really work up the courage to present.
Well, I think we might have one or two new folks, but most of you know the drill for this. This is Alexis's opportunity to really reflect, not just over the last year, but really over the last 4 years and her experience as a top scholar. So we're giving her some extra time. She'll have about 40 minutes. And then once she is done, we will open the room to kind of faculty and staff that have comments or questions for her, including those online. And then everybody else in the room will have the opportunity to offer her well wishes, words, or any kind of interrogation that, you know, might be necessary. But the real purpose of this exercise, just as this is the last one, I will reiterate, is about reflection and then synthesizing what the students have learned and really celebrating their time here as a top scholar. And I think this is quite unique because these end of year and senior exit presentations don't just focus on a niche area or a single sort of the content area or what they're going to do in their career, but really celebrates the whole student. And so with that, Alexis, I'll be your timekeeper. We'll monitor the chat for you, and you have about 40 minutes.
Just when you say interrogation, if I ask what the mechanism for Robinson.
That sounds like that may be going a little light on her. The next 40 minutes, that was just a one-part question.
This is what I get for inviting. Okay, well, thank you so much everyone for coming today. Welcome to my last top scholar presentation and more formally known as my senior exit report. I decided to kind of figure out a theme for my presentation, and I decided to do it kind of like a museum, kind of almost similar to like an exhibit. We're kind of seeing different stages of my life. So I thought it'd be fun to like have some cute baby pictures in the beginning. So I provided a table of contents just because this presentation is a little bit longer than the other ones. But I'll be talking a little bit more about me. How did I demonstrate kind of the pillars of the Top Scholar program? In addition to that, kind of the extracurriculars that I was really passionate about over my 4 years here. And so we'll go ahead and start. So a little bit about me, if you didn't know already, my name is Alexis. That phrase is actually a little bit of an inside joke, just because I am in the pre-medical track. And I had to kind of figure out how to really sell myself when it came to the infamous question of tell me about yourself. And so the one that I kind of finalized when it came to all these interviews was I talked about how, hopefully you already know my name, but I'm from Dallas, Texas. I come from a pretty small family, just my sister and my parents, and it got a little bit bigger when I came to high school. I had a graduating class of about 1,300 students, so a lot of people. And it just got even bigger whenever I moved to San Antonio to UTSA through the Top Scholar program, where I've been really able to use my past 4 years to confirm my passion for medicine and healthcare through specific unique experiences. And so that's what I would tell them in the interview, essentially. And so as much as I hate talking about the pandemic, I feel like it's very notable to mention just because I am part of the class of 2020. And so my freshman and a little bit of my sophomore year looked a little bit different from other people. I didn't have that traditional college experience, but I think that transitioning to college was a lot easier actually. So I came to UTSA my spring semester where campus was still kind of closed. I mean, I think all we had was the dining hall, and you couldn't even eat in the dining hall, like you had to get these to-go boxes. So that was unique. And I kind of had to figure out how I would get situated by myself alone in a new city. And so that included dorm life with a raccoon and without a raccoon. But I think what made it a little bit easier transitioning was kind of having my cohort being really, really close from the get-go. Even though we had social distancing, the first friends that I really made was on within this program. And so you see a lot of masks in these pictures. But having roommates such as like Maddie and Marissa here, to kind of talk with each other, having different majors, having different interests, I think was especially important in my opinion, because we were all really academically driven, but at the end of the day, we were able to talk about different things and they were able to encourage me, to kind of find different, interests. In addition to that, I felt like it was important to mention that a reason why I really wanted to move onto campus was I really wanted to take part in research. I felt like taking so many STEM classes in high school, I really wanted an opportunity to visualize what I had been learning. And so I was fortunate enough through the Top Scholar program, I attribute all of it to it, by being able to participate in a research lab as early as my freshman year. I was able to be in Dr. Seshi's lab for all 4 years. And it seems a little bit of a stretch, but if you're interested in wondering how I got into it, I have a career interest in dermatology. And then I was like looking at all the faculty and I was like, Lyme disease. Lyme disease, like the first notable symptom is like a rash. That's kind of like a dermatologist. I'm gonna figure out that. And so that was actually my interest in the lab, and it's grown a lot more in the past 4 years. But I remember this being like in my first year presentation as like my proudest accomplishment. I'm embarrassed now, but essentially it was like a PCR product that I transformed and like it formed bacterial colonies. And I was like so proud to get blue and white colonies. So I thought it was funny to attribute that there. To talk a little bit more about my research timeline wise, I did mention how I kind of came here during the pandemic, which was a little bit different because when it came to going in the lab, it was like we had schedules, like I had to come in at a certain time just because only like 3 people max could be in the lab. So it made kind of mentorship from graduate students a little bit harder. But as years passed on, I think I had learned a lot from those graduate students. I was also wanting to mention the fact that I feel like a very unique experience and opportunity I had that I'm very grateful for was my freshman year when I did enter into the lab. I was also given my own project. And so I was designated a specific gene that I was going to focus on to understand how Lyme disease is transmitted through the bacterial agent Borrelia burgdorferi. And with that, I was really focusing in my work, just like my work independently, and using the mentorship from graduate students to kind of grow that research. Something that I also wanted to mention with research was kind of one of the biggest things I took away, and that had to do with quality over quantity. I kind of mentioned this in our senior song, but in the summer, I knew that each year, like freshman year, sophomore year, I needed to do something. I needed to be active in terms of learning. And so I would continuously apply for some research programs, and I had a 0% success rate. I got rejected from every single one. And so when it came to these applications, I always had to ask for a letter of recommendation. And usually I would ask Dr. Seshu. And I don't know if he was just getting tired of writing those letter recommendations, but he was like, you know, have you ever thought about continuing your research here? I mean, you can go to a different university for 3 months and probably takes you about 2 months just to get settled in. What are you gonna kind of do that 1 month? Whereas here, you have your own project, you kind of already established the basic protocol, and from there you can really grow and output a lot of data over the summer, especially when you're not taking a lot of classes. And so I kind of thought about it a little bit more and realized the benefit of staying here at UTSA over the summer. And so with his help, I was able to get the Provost Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And with that, continue my research and output a lot of data, more than I ever expected. I think to the point where like, I would like show him a gel and he'd be like, oh my gosh, like you should like bring your bed here into the lab and like you can live here and then you can do more research. I was like, no, I'm okay with that. But essentially he was just really proud of the idea of outputting a lot of research, and I think a lot of it was attributed to him. In addition to that, I was then able to present my work at a lot of conferences here at UTSA and also in Houston through the Texas ASM branch meeting. A lot of people were impressed with my work, which I was a little bit nervous because I felt like, if anything, I was not the expert in Lyme disease. But there I was able to present my work and also collaborate with others, hearing their input of, like, have you tried this strategy? If you're stuck on this, have you considered this? And so I really learned a lot from those. And so kind of the takeaways I had was mentorship from the graduate students, learning to kind of not just work on my own thing, but schedule time to learn from them. While I did have my own project, I felt like anything that they were doing could be beneficial to me. So allocating time to go into the lab to learn from them and solely learn from them was really beneficial. In addition to that, taking the initiative of my own learning, and also kind of getting out of my comfort zone. So in addition, another form of research that I did was a clinical research internship at Texas Scottish Rite. It was actually a full circle moment because, if you didn't already know, I had scoliosis surgery in 2013, and that was a very big thing that kind of motivated me to go within the pre-med track and pursue medicine to be a physician, just because it was a little bit traumatic, but what kind of made it a little bit better while having these 8 rods inserted into my spine was the physician, Dr. Steven, who kind of helps me with this. And so then to come back years later as a clinical research intern was a really good opportunity to help serve the community that helped me. I only knew the perspective of being a patient. And so knowing that and using my personal experience, coming back to that same place and helping them years later with my now interest in medicine because of them was a really good experience, and I always call it my full circle. That's me just waking up from my scoliosis surgery. So that's why my eyes are really puffy, and Megan, they're really excited for some weird reason. Something I also thought was pretty notable was the number of honors college courses that I took over my past 4 years. And so the first one I wanted to mention was taking the Foundation Civic Engagement course. Within my sophomore year, it was actually through a scholar seminar class that I decided that I wanted to pick up a minor, and specifically one in civic engagement. I felt like it was a great opportunity for me to find classes that allowed me to really focus on service within my community. And in addition to that, take courses that I may not have been able to take solely just within my bio degree plan. And so through that, I've been able to take a lot of public health classes as well as psychology and sociology. As I started to really learn that when it comes to medicine, there's really 2 aspects of it, the science aspect, but also the humanities aspect. And you're treating a patient as a person in itself, and you need to learn those soft skills rather than a disease, right? So that's why I felt like it's important to pick up that minor. In addition, I took Anatomy of the Future Doctor with Dr. Hernandez. I really felt like this class helped me plan everything out for medical school, whether that was the pre-committee assessment, preparation for mock interviews. There was a lot of structure there that I felt like I needed, as I didn't have a lot of people like above me that was providing that mentorship. And so this class helped kind of set that inside and also helped me network with other people that could help me with that. In addition, to continue my research, I took the independent study course to continue research. It was nothing too crazy, except for the fact that I was getting credit for my research now, but I thought that was really beneficial. One that I always mention, actually, in all of my medical school interviews is the Day of the Dead course. And I feel like it's really unique because you wouldn't expect a pre-med to take that course. But I felt it was really important to take it just because I was from Dallas and I didn't know a lot about the city in San Antonio, and this was a great opportunity to learn more about a celebration that was important to them, the Day of the Dead. And so it was kind of transitioning out of COVID, but we created a virtual exhibit, and something I was really proud of was kind of taking initiative of the idea we wanted to do. And so essentially the virtual exhibit was to help better explain the Day of the Dead to not only UTSA students, but the community. And in my head, I was imagining me playing Pop Tropica, if anyone has ever played that. And where essentially you kind of like are a human, like jumping around all these different buildings. You go inside, you kind of play games. And I felt like having a very interactive experience would help make the learning a lot easier, and would stick a little bit more. And so I connected Pop Tropico with actually my experience in Mexico, where I had visited kind of in El Pueblito, which is like a little tiny neighborhood. And I thought that if we kind of mimicked different aspects of a neighborhood to highlight different sections within the Day of the Dead. So for example, I had a flower shop, right? And we created a flower shop where if you entered into that, you would learn more about the significance of marigolds. Additionally, I think we had a newspaper stand where like we had a crossword puzzle, just different activities to learn more about it. And so being able to do that, taking initiative with that idea was a really great experience, and I always talk about it. I'm also currently in medicine in the media, and I have appreciated that course because it's structured a little bit differently from what you're used to. We have about every single week a guest speaker that comes in, and we learn about different health topics that they're kind of experts in, whether that may be euthanization, abortion. We've had mapping of like different healthcare topics and diseases. And I decided to just highlight one fun thing that we did, which was a comic book. So we actually got to design a comic strip of any health topic that we wanted to. And I did it regarding the flu vaccine and how it's a guessing game. So that's a little bit about that. I also didn't mention, I realized, I also took intro to clinical medicine, which helped me see a lot about different cases, symptoms presented, and really kind of put myself in that mindset of being a potential doctor. I had to talk about organic chemistry as one of my more notable experiences. To give you kind of like a timeline of what happened, I was vividly scarred from Gen Chem 2.
Yes.
And I think people know why, but we won't go into that. And I think that just Gen Chem 2 kind of wavered me off my path just because I felt like, I had taken AP chemistry. I felt like I had the foundations to do well in that class and I didn't. And so what does that mean for taking a lot more difficult courses? And kind of rather than thinking of it in a negative mindset, I turned that as motivation to do a lot better when transitioning to organic chemistry. And so organic chemistry is very notable in the sense that it was my first in-person class. And I think that made a huge difference learning such a difficult course in person with a brilliant professor. He didn't pay me to say that. But I think I loved it so much because it was completely new information from what I was used to. And with that new information, I knew that deep down inside, I had to put in the work to excel, whether that was doing a lot of practice problems, attending office hours, conversing with other people. That was how I was going to succeed in organic chemistry. And I guess it paid off a little bit because I was then offered a position the next semester to be a teaching assistant. And so I kind of mentioned when the student becomes a master because it was a really notable experience to be able to teach others. And I think that in the beginning, I had talked to Dr. Aguilar about this, and he had mentioned that his previous TA was, he had worked with for many years. And with that, she knew like how he taught, like his mindset, kind of like she had that like teaching mentality or teaching perspective. And something that was beneficial with me coming in that following year was that I had the perspective of a student. And with that, I kind of served as a liaison between the students and the teacher and understanding, what difficulties might they be having that they might not be vocalizing about, and how can I provide resources to help them with that. And so some of those resources included the schedule of success. It was literally a breakdown. We still do it. It's a breakdown for every single day of the week, what you should be doing to succeed. I think that with an intimidating course like organic chemistry, you're prone to procrastinating just because last minute you're trying to prepare for that exam. But if you really stay on top of things, if you do a certain amount of practice problems, if you read ahead before class, you can do really well in the course. In addition to that, we had weekly recitation sessions. I think with any experience that you have, it's what you make out of it. And I think that, being a teaching assistant could be limited to just grading papers. But what we made out of that experience is definitely a lot of resources available for students. And that included having these recitation sessions each week where it was just me and then the group of students that they were able to comfortably practice these problems. And with that came the game plan that became like my key phrase, I guess you would say, where I felt like a lot of students were intimidated by how complex a structure may be thrown at you. But it didn't matter the type of structure or compound you started out with if you knew the structure of the question itself and you had a very specific idea of how you would approach that problem, you would be able to succeed in both like quizzes and exams. In addition to that, this learning guide is actually something that I had in high school that I brought to Dr. Aguilar's attention. I felt like in addition to practice problems, it was important for us to kind of verbalize what they would be tested on, and so they could see how well they were doing in a concept, whether that was red, yellow, or green. And so we were able to create that, and also easy note cards and Kahoots, just extra practice problems for them to really succeed if they needed that. Some takeaways that I had from this experience was definitely mentorship, not just in organic chemistry, but I felt like while teaching recitation sessions, if I came a little bit early, oftentimes I had students ask me like, oh, like, how's your pre-health journey going? Like, what's that looking like? What have you been up to? And I think being able to share those experiences with my students is something I didn't expect, but something I did value paying it forward. And also learning to adjust accordingly. I realized that everyone has different learning styles, and with that, you have to adjust. And so with our recitation sessions, I really focused on immediate feedback after each week. You know, you do course evaluations at the end of the semester, but if we could see each week how students were feeling, adjusting to that, and making sure that next week they feel more prepared and more confident in the material. In terms of leadership experience, I wanted to highlight kind of two student organizations that I had been a part of for many years in my undergrad. One being Alpha Epsilon Delta. It was a pre-national pre-health society, National Pre-Health Society. And there I was a reporter, which helped with recruitment and writing a publication called The Scalpel, as well as vice president. Through this experience, I felt like it was important to be involved in a pre-health organization, but specifically pre-health rather than pre-med, as weird as that may sound. And that's just based off my understanding of how medicine and healthcare is interdisciplinary, and being able to work alongside nurses, PAs, and even dentists. I felt like I wanted to kind of create that culture early on in my undergrad experience. In addition to that, we helped host a lot of events, one being mock interviews for a lot of other organizations here. So pictured here, coming up soon is going to be like some video documentary created by UTSA that I was interviewed at. So pretty cool experience. I'm famous. In addition to that, being involved in global brigades, I was able to participate in 2 telebrigades, which is a virtual experience where I could shadow and get clinical experience in Greece, Ghana, and Honduras. Being able to shadow doctors abroad and learning about the discrepancies in healthcare was really important and helping kind of confirm that passion. And so really proud of the accomplishments by growing that chapter over the past couple of years. In addition to that, I felt like I had to create my own slide for my involvement in the TSSO, the Top Scholar Student Organization. I have held 2 positions there, one being the Director of Peer Care. I kind of like set a goal for myself that I wasn't going to forget volleyball when I came to college, and I thought, how funny would it be if I got a bunch of nerds together, aka the top scholars, created a team and competed with all these athletes. And that's what we did. We created the Top Ballers program. We were almost champions, emphasis on almost, because we were second place. But to create kind of a different environment where we're not kind of in this academic mindset, but in a competitive, supporting team. We've grown now to both a women and co-ed team. It was weird with the idea of like older scholars calling me coach, but I got used to that, and now younger ones call me coach, but it was really fun to be able to do that. In addition, one of the more notable events was a kind of build your own sushi night, where essentially it was potluck style. Everyone could bring in ingredients to put in the roll. And then throughout this, I kind of set the ELL up where we made our rolls together, kind of conversed, and watched people either miserably fail at rolling sushi rolls or do really well. In addition to that, this year I was the director of finance and really helped out with bigger events such as Best Fest. It was a pretty big success given the circumstances. We sold boba this year, kind of similar to last year. If it wasn't for the rain, we would have made a little bit more money, but we couldn't control that. But to see kind of everyone come out and help was a really good experience. Seeing them wear their cute little aprons that we had selling boba. I was like surprised Catherine was out there, like Catherine's usually a little quiet, right? But she was out there like selling boba, get your fucking no way. She brought in the most sales, so that was a really good experience. In addition to that, I also did a lot of service over the past 4 years. I just kind of highlighted the more notable ones. I really appreciated being able to do adopt a spot with dinner groups. There's a little jumping. And so adopt a spot was a more notable one, but I also loved the projects that our cohort did. One of the first one was Be the Match, where we were trying to recruit people to participate in being part of the stem cell registry. And I didn't realize how driven students were by shirts. Like if you had free shirts, they were there. And we had free shirts, so we had a lot of people sign up to be part of the registry. So we were helping swab in their little mouths, sending it off. And it was a really successful project. And then also our Town 20 project. This is kind of part of our legacy project, but being to be there with, scholars in my cohort, but also freshmen even coming out to help furnish these homes, making them a full-on home rather than like a house itself. That was a really good experience, and also like clinical related experience, being able to volunteer at Corazon Clinic downtown and really learn about the community that is here in San Antonio and what they may need and how we best can serve them. Just some examples. I also felt like it was important to show how I had fun over the past 4 years. And so I think it was my sophomore year that Be Real came out, and Be Real is a really good opportunity for you to snap in the moment of what you're doing. And I felt like a lot of those moments that I had were of me having fun, which is surprising to say as a pre-med. But a lot of it is very food driven, as you can see. Lots of boba runs. In fact, this past week was National Boba Day, if you didn't celebrate that. In addition to that, going out to different events, not that big of a fan of football, but very big fan of volleyball. So going out to see UT play against UTSA was a really good experience. In addition to that, there's Megan at Best Fest, us selling in her little top scholar apron, and then also even going to the gym a little bit. I think that's really good to find the little moments that you're having fun, and to be able to do that over the past 4 years, I think I took for granted towards the beginning, but was really appreciative of it, especially when I felt like I also had to create a side on this. Hope you enjoy the wordplay on that. A&M stands for Alexis and Megan. And so this was my last year and also Megan's first year. And if you see this picture here, actually I looked at it. 1 year ago exactly is when I went to her ceremony and presented her award. And so crazy, we still look the same. But this year has been a really unique experience just because we have never really had a lot of classes or school together. Last time was like elementary school. So to be in kind of this stage of our lives, learning through, I guess, adulthood, if you would say, without our parents and everything, and doing it together was a very unique experience. Having a private, like personal trainer was a really good experience. Someone pushing me to go to the gym, in fact. But also someone that remains as like my mentee. I think like that mentee always stays the same. So being able to show her kind of the ropes of UTSA, helping her schedule classes every semester is really fun, but also kind of giving her the ins and outs of how to be really successful and make use of the opportunity that you have within the Top Scholar program is something that I really want to emphasize, and hopefully she takes that away with her and leave. So what's next for me? You may be wondering. And so I will be attending medical school next year, which is really exciting. Pictured here is my parents at Houston. We went to go visit it. I got accepted and matched with McGovern Medical School in Houston. I haven't said that I committed essentially yet, just because I am on the wait list for 2 schools that I think would be also a really great fit for myself. But even if I don't get into those, I would really love to go to McGovern just because it is a new city. to be in, which is Houston. And more specifically, it's in the Texas Medical Center, which I think being a medical student there is going to be a really beneficial experience for me. And so I'm really excited for that. And so that pretty much concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for coming out today. These are just some pictures I took for my senior portraits or whatever. So be on the lookout in your mailbox for that coming in soon. But I kind of reflecting about it, I was really appreciative of the opportunity that I've had to be here at UTSA, specifically in the Top Scholar program. I think that coming into undergrad, I had a very set path of what I wanted to do. That was, get to medical school. I got there, which was great. But I think that finding little niches that I was really interested in, whether that was picking up a minor in civic engagement or learning that I have a passion for teaching when it came to undergrad, or learning that I could see myself, if anything, researching and learning how that patient population may be affected by something down to the molecular level. Those experiences wouldn't have been done without the UTSA Top Scholar program. And so I thank everyone that has kind of helped me get where I wanted to be, but also kind of strayed me off that path when I needed to be. Yeah. Thank you.
Great job, Alexis. Way to end this with a bang. Very, very proud of all you've done while you're here. I think it's evident that you will have left a great mark, not just with our program, but really at the university. So there are a lot of folks in the room, and I know people will have comments, so I'll keep mine brief. Just a reminder for you. I see by the look on your face, you know what I'm trying to say. You mentioned at one point that you would have liked to have had somebody a little bit older than you to help guide you. You now have the power to be that person. And consistently, I hear students say, I wish I had more connections with alumni. I wish I, had someone that could have helped guide me. And so you can be that person. And alumni engagement is 100% up to guess who? Alumni. So you're going to be in a remarkable position at McGovern, and come back and see us. Don't just move into the next phase and say, that was great, now I'm moving on. Do come back and let us hear from you. We want this. Other folks in the room, Dr. Aguilar, Melissa Lozano. Made his hand raised first.
All right. Yeah, so what can I say? It's been a long road. As you know, when your first class, when you took my organic one class, was the first class that was face-to-face after COVID. And I was super excited because granted the 18 months online was not fun for me. Students not being on the cameras, except for Will. And that interaction was missing, right? So I started the first week of class really excited, doing the exact same stuff that I was doing before COVID, to realize that that was not working. The students had changed, and which means that my teaching had to change. And at that point, I had lost my TA, which was a big gap for me. So when I asked for the TA, you completely filled that gap in more ways than one. One, letting me understand the student's perspective, but two, by making me a better teacher. Because as you were going through a lot of those things, as I remember telling you, I want to do learning objectives, I want to talk about Bloom's taxonomy, and then you showed them this thing that you had that talked about red, green, and yellow lights. And it gets to the point where I'm like, was that my idea or was that Alexis' idea? Right, schedule success. Was that my idea or was that Alexis' idea? I was like, it's okay, I'll take credit for all of it. But I think to Christy's point, talking about mentoring, wanting mentorship from older, you were that to a lot of students. That you said that shouldn't have too scarred you for one reason or another, right? You prevented that by helping students get through Organic 1 in ways that, unfortunately, I couldn't. And because of that, you made me a better teacher. And luckily, you've been able to mentor Samantha, so this continues on, so that I can continually getting better, and I think a lot of times, the teachers get a lot of the recognition, right? But it's also a lot of the people that we're working with, that don't get that, and you deserve 100% of it.
I will say, absolutely love the format. You know, I'm gonna love that format. But I love seeing the photos and hearing the journey from a personal level, from an academic level and so forth. You did quite a bit, a lot of humility, team learning, I love your positive outlook. Every time you had a challenge, I heard positive statements every time. You're like, but I saw it as this. So that's absolutely great. Couple of things that resonate with me. Number one of my favorite pictures that you had up there was your dorm room with the raccoon in it. The reason being is because I can completely empathize with that. I think my husband thinks my toxic trait is that one day I'm going to bring home a raccoon to adopt because I love them. They're great animals. So can totally appreciate that. But the other thing that resonates with
I tell you, I didn't bring that.
No, I know, I was like,
Yeah. I should have given it to you instead of.
right? You should have just called. I'd have been over and been like,
Yeah.
got it.
You
Total
did this
rescue
job.
mom, yes, so raccoon will probably be the next level of what I rescue. But the other thing that resonates with me too is Gen Chem 2 also scarred me and never went into organic chemistry because of it. But when I hear you talk about it and I see the things you did with it, I wholeheartedly agree with Dr. Aguilar. We need more students like you to really kind of motivate and inspire, but speak from a very authentic and real perspective, right? I think a lot of times when we humble ourselves and say, we had a challenge and we stumbled, but look where I'm at, right? And being able to approach it from that kind of perspective really resonates with students. And I think that was pretty profound seeing that. So I would love to see more students, especially the up and comers, you know, underneath you, kind of follow in those footsteps as well. Not just with Gen Chem, you know, some of us, I'd rather take Gen Chem and organic chemistry than take another history or political science course. Not my field, right? It's where I struggle. But those spaces are the ones where we need students like you to mentor and set the example for the other ones that are coming up. So I applaud you for that. Great job.
Thank you.
I told you this story already. I can tell it for everyone else. We had a student worker who would ask me if she could leave early or take an afternoon off because Alexis was gonna hold a session and she needed to go to it. And only Alexis could help her get through it. So, I think you had a profound impact on a lot. I love the relationship you have with your sister, that she continues to want to follow you to Houston.
I wanted to really stay at that presentation.
But you guys do have a great relationship together, at least appears on the outside. I'm sure there's moments, but it's great to see and great to have you both here. Heather? You went online.
Yeah.
A lot of people go on this path and they fall, but I think much due to your positive outlook and your resilience. It's a big testament to your work ethic. It's exciting to see you be this successful. We haven't really asked a lot of questions, you know, what is one piece of advice you give? Yeah, and it's, you know, okay.
I think I kind of echoed this during my presentation, but with any experience that you're interested in taking part of, my advice is it's always what you make out of it. And the reason why I say that is just because the idea of quality over quantity, I think especially in any pre-health track, you get caught up in the idea of having a lot to make it look as good as you can. But if you're kind of sticking to certain experiences, you build a relationship with people, you have life lessons that you've learned, you can effectively talk about that and have takeaways. And I think that is what really shines in an application, or that's what people really want to see. And so when you take part in anything that you do, kind of make sure you're reflecting on that and being able to kind of learn from those mistakes, and then also be able to present what you've taken away.
Hello, coach.
Oh.
I started thinking about what I wanted to say, and then I didn't think I would end up speaking now, but I'll try to collect my thoughts. I think when I think about our cohort and how we're the best cohort, I think of you first. And I think of the idea, one, because I think you championed that moniker, and then also because I think if our cohort wasn't so strong, I don't know how much I would have kind of crossed your path. I feel like I've been walking past a lot lately, but like, we're generally in completely different ends of campus, we're in completely different spaces. I don't think we've ever had class overlap. But because we have that bond, like, I do get to see you a lot, and I have loved getting to know you, and it's been such a joy. And I, loved Top Ballers, and like that being the place I really got to bond with you. It's been actually, like, I remember the first year we did it, I didn't know you that well, like, I knew you through the things that we've been doing, but I would like, the relationship I developed with you and Sophie was so weird in my head, because I was like trying to please you guys at most of my performance in the games. And then we'd like go have like dinner at the cafe, and I was like, cool. So I think I've run out of that, which is good. Yeah, I really admire you. I admire everything you do. I think you bring such a like a holistic view to everything that you're involved in, and I just really appreciate that as someone who's going into the medical field, that you're taking the time to examine this field from so many different disciplines. And I think that's going to really serve you well. And I hope that in the future, if I ever have a skin issue, I can call you. You'll be on my speed.
Who's the next coach?
I don't know. That's why, like, I have the net that I need to return, by the way. But I have no idea. Maybe I need to do like coach interviews, make it a whole legit thing and figure it out. But I would really like to see them continue. I think it's a really good thing, and I feel like I have some fun.
I got kind of lost because I had an idea that we should have a homecoming game for the alumni to play volleyball when they're here for Thanksgiving.
That would just, wait, then I'd be part of them. Then I would destroy it.
That's where I thought was going. That's the other last idea I had, was that I think we've been the best cohort, but I think we will continue to be as alumni. I hope that we keep that up.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Someone plan that, alumni, media, Sophie,
Yes.
game over for them, honestly. Yes.
Yes, coach. So actually, let me start with this. Your TA sessions were so popular that I heard them all the way in engineering. So it took a point where people were like, "It's incredible. You should go." And I thought about going. And I hate chemistry, but I didn't have a schedule, so I never had to go. But I would see you at practice. And Top Ballers was an awesome. I don't know what gave you the idea, like, and the energy to endeavor this. Practices every week, games every week, You were really committed to it. I loved it. We got knee pads. I got knee pads. It was so fun, and getting to interact with scholars in that space was unique. And we just learned all of that. So thank you. And I hope there's any clips somewhere. Yeah, no, we continue. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, just to echo what Edith and Margot have said, I really love the space they created in Top Ballers. Like, it was something that I was looking forward to every week, the practice, the games. Even though I wasn't really good at it the first year, like, I loved like the growth that I made through your coaching. And I hope that's what Waller does continue. I can't wait to see all the awesome things that you're gonna do at whatever med school that you do decide. I'm gonna miss our little beef. But it's okay. If you continue in Houston, if you do end up going to Houston, I guess. But I'm just excited for all the awesome things that you're gonna do.
It's the nicest thing. We always have like weird beef. I don't know why. Like, I'll say, like, can I sit here? She'll be like, no. And I'm like, okay. But yeah.
I admire your determination so much because it's something that I think I lack sometimes, or it's easy for me to fall in the way of just like go another way. And seeing you like go with like the Top Ballers is a huge thing. And from my experience, your TA sessions, I enjoy chemistry just like by itself. And Dr. Aguilar's classes were incredible. But your sessions, like I will even tell Catherine, like I didn't study as much outside classes because I had your sessions and I think your game plans was everything I needed to just succeed in the test. And that was crazy because organic chemistry is a really hard class. And you made not only a good TA, but you made like a community from students. And it was joyful to go Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, to go to your session and go to Dr. Aguilar's class. And you made OChem probably like one of the best classes I've ever taken. So thank you so much for your determination, your courage, and it's a very good example for your high school listeners.
Yes, I had signed it off. Just want to give you some thanks for being my life mentor. I feel like it started probably, I don't know, since I was born, I guess. But, thank you for showing me Top Scholar, all of my classes, my work ethic, I attribute to you. I think I really look up to you as a role model, and I'll miss you.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.